there, Jets fans, and welcome to episode number 36 of the JetStream podcast. I am Travis Rubinick. Today is July 13th. I'm here with Joe Clark and Neil Noonan.
What's up?
How you guys doing?
What's up?
So, new logo.
Yep.
And new setup. And it's pretty freaking awesome if you ask me. So, a little round of applause for Neil Noonan for doing all that.
Thanks to Neil, the producer,
I do it for you guys,
putting in the hard work.
Pretty excellent. We have video camera in front of us now. So, I guess I should start shaving a little bit more before I come to podcasts.
Yeah, I should have told you guys.
I'm not going to shave it.
Look pretty for tonight.
Look pretty. The ice cap's the successful part of the franchise.
Yep.
Just representing them a little bit. Today's probably going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. It's not going to be the 2-hour bombshell that we dropped last week because, well, we don't have any awesome guests this week. We just have our awesome selves. And let's be honest.
Self-proclaimed awesomeness.
And let's be honest here. The Jets are really freaking boring during the off-season most of the time. So thanks, Evander Kane, for giving us something to talk about this week.
Exactly.
We'll get to that stuff in a second. It's kind of feels silly of us to be talking about the NHL when the World Cup's going on and LeBron James is blowing up the basketball universe and all sorts of things are happening. But I guess we've got some things we got to deal with, and work is work. So I guess we should just get right into Evander Kane off.
Sounds good.
Then, eh?
Let's do it.
He did some things.
He did. He said some words. Yep.
And let's just say shit hit the fan a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not like Winnipeg to completely overreact when it comes to anything to do with Evander Kane. I'm just going to read a couple little transcripts from you guys, and I want you to give me your reactions to them, if you would please.
I would love
to.
to.
Or not your reactions. I'm going to read both of them, and then I want to have your reactions.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
This is the first one, and this is coming from Evander Kane, who, for those of you who live under rocks, went on Vancouver radio on Monday, I believe it was, and was asked, Evander, do you want to play for the Winnipeg Jets anymore? And following a 3-second time span of just dead air, which just must have tickled everybody pink.
Oh, yeah.
Responded with, well, I think I'm a Winnipeg Jet right now, and, you know, there's been speculation and rumors for 3 years since I got there. So, you know, we'll see what happens, and we'll carry on as if I'm a Winnipeg Jet.
And just so everybody knows, the tone and inflections that Travis is using right there are exactly what it sounds like in the interview with Evander Kane. That's exactly what it sounded like, actually.
The host then responded with, there's not a yes in there, and some Jets fans may say, why does he want to play for us? Let's just get this out of the air right now. This is not what he's saying. This is me right here.
Yeah.
I think if you're a Winnipeg Jet fan and you're asking, why does he want to play for us? You have bigger problems with what Evander Kane's doing because that shouldn't even be in the question. I do not blame Evander Kane for not wanting to play for the Jets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or be in this city after the shit he takes on a regular basis. Okay, continuing. So why does he want to play for us? Or why isn't he absolutely fully on board for playing with us? You're shaking your finger at me. Kane responds, I'm training hard and getting ready for this season, and last summer I didn't have a full year of training due to some surgery I had, so I found it really important for me to start training early and get myself in the best shape possible for this season, so that's my focus. AKA, completely deflects the question away and doesn't answer anything.
Of course.
Which, obviously, is going to not tickle even more people pink at all. They're going to be a little angry about that. Before we get your guys' responses on this, I'm just going to quickly pull something up here. Which, of course, after the 20 minutes I sat here trying to get ready for everything, I don't have open.
Of course.
Give me 2 seconds here and I'll open.
Let me ask Joe while you're looking for that. What's the right answer to this question?
Well, I mean, it's totally situational what the right answer is, right? Because it depends what you're trying to gain from the situation. I mean, if Evander Kane wants out, then, you know, you answer the question with, no, I'm not really wanting to play for the Winnipeg Jets anymore. And Gary Lawless touched on the fact after that it takes some balls to say I don't want to play.
We'll get to Lawless.
He said I don't want to. It takes some balls to say I don't want to play for this franchise because I mean that's something you rarely hear. A player coming out and speaking out against a team that they're currently playing for.
Okay, sorry, don't want to cut you off. I just want to get instant opinion on this.
Yep.
This is an interview that Kevin Cheveldayoff did well before this interview happened with Evander Kane. I wanted you to tell me if you noticed any similar wordings at all throughout this response to a question that he was asked about Evander Kane.
Right.
And it was about Evander Kane asking for a trade. He responded by saying, these questions are really unfair. There are a lot of conversations that go on. I'm sure there are levels of frustration at different points in time for individual players. From our standpoint, Evander is a Winnipeg Jet, and I know that there's obviously been lots of different rumors out there. In this point in time, that's how we're going to proceed.
Mm-hmm. So basically the same answer.
Basically the exact same thing that Evander said.
At least they're on the same page.
One guy says it, nothing really happens.
Right.
Evander Kane says it,
Yeah. To be fair, though, it's different when it's coming from a general manager and from a player, because the player knows what's going on in his own head. The general manager doesn't know what's going on in the player's head, right? So you're always going to be you're expecting different insights when you ask different people, right? So you can't say, like, nobody's going to get mad at Kevin Cheveldayoff for saying, he's a Winnipeg Jet right now, because how is he supposed to know where Kane's head is at truly? Yeah. All he has to go off is the feedback he gets from Kane.
Okay. After this interview came out, so that was later on this past week, he was asked again about the interview. Obviously, it's kind of an easy question to ask. And his response then was, if your name was brought up in rumors every day, you'd have to maybe start and wonder where things are at. Evander's a professional. I expect when he's here for camp, he's going to be at the peak of his performance. So that kind of tells me he's not trading him. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the main quotes that came out of that. There's nothing else that really much.
Yeah, it was all
quote wise, and then it was just more Kevin Cheveldayoff saying he took the Kane interview as excitement to be healthy this summer, which
it kind of was.
Yeah. And then Jeff Hamilton tweeted out his thoughts on the interview was that it was just a calculated and swift move. Response was expected. Wasn't going to add fuel to the fire. Obviously, he's not going to keep pumping out more and more issues into this situation. But yeah, what do you think, Joe?
I think his response was appropriate. I mean, like Kevin Cheveldayoff said afterwards, after this interview happened, he said, if your name was mentioned in trade talks every day, you would be thinking something along those lines too. And I think that's fair. I think it's a pretty pertinent answer by Chevy, because like he's a human, right? Kane's a human, and he's gonna hear these things. The professional athletes aren't immune to what the media says. They hear what's going on, and they hear all the rumors, and they read about them and whatnot. Even if they try not to, they're still gonna run into them. So he knows his name's being thrown around all the time. So if he doesn't have an absolute guarantee from Chevy, which obviously, that's not going to happen very often in pro sports, where your general manager
he's one of the few guys who doesn't have no trade clause.
Yeah, exactly. So if he doesn't have an absolute guarantee that he's not traded, then why should he think that, I'm guaranteed to be a Jet for, X amount of time?
Yeah, exactly.
As far as he knows, he's a Winnipeg Jet right now, and that's how he's going to go forward. So to me, that's a completely fair answer.
Yeah. Do you think he's asked for a trade?
I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate, because there's no way for me to know that.
Yeah.
Absolutely no way.
Yeah, very true. I honestly think Evander's just screwing with everybody.
Maybe.
I think he takes a little pleasure out of just messing with everybody here, because he knows. It's just funny because there's this perception around Evander Kane that everybody hates him, but so many people that I talk to think he's a complete dick, but they don't want him leaving the city to play hockey somewhere else. There are those people who think he's overrated and blah 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 blah, but which I completely don't agree with. Mm-hmm. But he's a good hockey player, and a lot of very few people, in my opinion, come straight out and say, I do not want Evander Kane playing for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah,
and if you do, and I ask why, it's usually a pretty useless response.
It's usually a stupid answer. Yeah, like he's a cancer in the locker room and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that.
Something that has no basis.
Yeah. So we tweeted out after this all happened. I'm just going to kind of go through some of these responses right now, and we're going to give a little bit of feedback from ourselves as to what we think of your thoughts. Mm-hmm. We tweeted out asking you guys to let us know of your thoughts of the Evander Kane situation. So here are a few of my personal favorite answers. They're kind of varying from the positive to the negative to the kind of like whatever, it doesn't mean anything. And we'll just go on from there. So Eric Sawatsky at JetsFan54 responded by saying, trade him. It sounds bad to say, but guys with his attitude are cancerous in the locker room and will affect everyone on the roster. Oh, that's an interesting way to start there.
Okay.
I don't really agree with that.
Right.
I think we've brought it up before where there aren't a lot of guys in the locker room in Evander Kane's situation where they're that kind of just getting into their 20s. They're not the kids. They're not the young little just starting in the NHL, nor are they the vets with a family. Mm-hmm. So he might not necessarily have super close relationships that everyone can agree with there.
Right.
Burmistrov kind of relationships from when he was in the city. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't go as far as saying he's a cancer in the locker room, especially with the newly signed for 3 years, Chris Thorburn. Yeah, they seem to be best buddies.
Best buds, yeah.
You see Evander tweeting pictures with guys when he's around them. And
I mean, going through, I remember watching an interview with Kane going through the Jets locker room with Shane Hnidy one time, like in between periods of Jets games, a pre-recorded thing. And it was like, oh, this is where I change right here. It was way off in the corner. And he's like, this is where I change in this corner, and Thorburn changes right there. So in my opinion, when they're in the locker room, I'm thinking like Kane and Thorburn just kind of hang out in their little corner.
Yeah,
and I don't really think they're bothering anybody or being cancerous, as people like to throw around. Like I I don't see it. And I mean, he strikes me as kind of he's over the top in his actions, but he's not a very wordy guy. No. Like, he never is over the top in terms of what he says and how he acts and everything like that. Like, I
think he's a very smart person. It comes up to me that he's just super smart and loves screwing with people.
And he comes off pretty well spoken as well every interview that I've heard him in. So I don't really know about that whole cancer in the locker room thing. It's seems like a bit of a shot in the dark.
The only people who are ever really going to know that are the players.
Yeah, exactly.
So even the media guys in the locker room, they can put on a face for you.
Yeah.
So that's just my thoughts on it. I mean, it could be possible. Maybe he's the worst locker room person in the world. Does that mean the team can't win with him? Not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Theo Fleury, perfect example. Teammates hated him. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's other issues there, of course, but teammates hated the guy, and he was still a very prolific scorer in the NHL, and they won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So,
and they probably loved him when they won the Stanley Cup.
Exactly. Yeah. It's nothing that gets rid of hatred more than winning.
Yeah. So, agreed.
Blaine Robinson, at Blaine Robinson, said, sad to see our best player being pushed out of town.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think we're all on board with that one.
The only way I can see it really paying off if he does go is if they fill every problem they have, which I don't think they'll be able to do.
No.
So, and I kind of want to go off this comment a little bit and say that if Evander Kane does want to trade, I think he just did this the best way he possibly can. He didn't corner the Jets at all. He did not say he wants a trade, and any GM worth their salt is going to recognize that. He's not asked for a trade. But on the flip side of that, every GM in the league is going to be calling the Winnipeg Jets at this point.
Yeah.
Just to figure out what's going on. So he's basically opened the door. If he does want out, and it seems to me like him and Chevy have some sort of agreement. This is what we're going to say.
Yeah.
I will move on from there. That's the way it is. And I wouldn't be surprised with that because that seems to be the true North way. They want people to saying specific things.
Yeah.
And when people go out of line, they do act on it. They react appropriately. So if he does want to trade, him and Chevy are saying the exact same thing to the media, which means every GM is going to be starting to think, okay, well, let's get talking and see what can happen. He's not limiting the Jets into teams coming in and saying, well, we know he wants out. We're going to lowball you here.
Yeah, exactly.
We're saying, okay, we're interested if he does want out. This is what we're willing to give up. And now Chevy's got 29 other teams. It should be 29 other teams interested in this player where you could take your best deal.
Giving him offers, and then he gets to weigh his options.
Exactly, because both of them keep saying specifically, I'm getting ready for this season, and I'm going to light shit up this season.
Yeah, well, basically,
personally, I hope Evander Kane scores 35 goals this year.
Oh, no,
and it would be amazing.
Yeah.
Even if it's not for the Jets, it would be amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I would love nothing. Well, I would love to see him play and score and do well for the Winnipeg Jets, but I would probably enjoy it just as much if he went somewhere else and got to succeed. I would be very happy for him.
Sens fan in YWG is at Kent Marstad. Sorry, I've said that wrong, Kent. I probably did. Said the better Kane plays, the easier it should be to trade him. He should focus on driving the demand. Which it seems like he was talking about directly in that interview that he's trained. Didn't have last offseason.
Right.
He had a broken wrist, I think it was.
Something like that. Yeah.
Or because his hand was this year, right?
Yeah, his hand was during the season.
Wrist problems or something, and he couldn't train, and exactly. So he's getting ready for this season. So hopefully he drives that demand up even more.
Yep.
Our boy at Pity the Foo.
Yep.
Pity the Fool says, really expect anyone outside of Thorburn to want to throw away the next 3 years playing in front of Pavlik?
Very pertinent question.
Very true. Again, that just brings up the point. Why should he want to play here?
Yeah.
He got to this city and was immediately scrutinized for everything he did, and he's blamed for everything. There's false things going out about him all the time, and he's playing in front of Andre Pavlik for the next 3 years. Yeah. And this team we talked about it last week. This team's not getting better fast. They got a lot of issues that they've got to solve. And personally, let's put this in a workplace perspective for a second here. Let's say you get to your job, and every single morning, you get to your new job. Before you even start your first day, someone in the off in the office is already talking about how you don't really want to be here.
Right.
He's going to start blah, 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 blah. He's not going to fit into the culture of our space, blah, 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 blah. Before you even start, there's already people bashing that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, every morning on your lovely drive through the crappy city Winnipeg streets, you get to listen on the radio some schlubs saying how you are the worst thing that's ever happened. You can't do any this, that, or the other. Your personal life is blown up. Everything you do is misconstrued, and you're the terrible person. You're a cancer.
Cancer in the locker room, yeah.
You're you're living up to your expectations. You're not living up to your contract. You take shots from this spot, which is just false. You're blah, blah, blah. Stuck with that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you get to work every day, you're working on a project that you are clearly good enough to do, but the two guys that are assigned to that project with you drag you down in every step of the way. They're not there to assist you at all. They can't keep up with your speed of mentality at the office. They can't keep up with you wanting to achieve your goals.
Yeah.
They keep dragging you back on a regular basis, day in and day out.
Thorburn and Pavlik?
Not even, it's just line mates.
Yeah.
His line mates.
Yeah.
Then on the way home, you get to hear Gary Lawless talk about how terrible you are and
Yeah.
everything you do and blah, blah, blah. He's a self-centered son of a bitch and blah, blah, blah. He's a coward. He's a terrible person. He doesn't have balls, blah, 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 blah. All that crap.
Mm-hmm.
Again. Wake up the next morning, keep going. Blah. This is over and over and over again.
Every day.
Meanwhile, there's some guy in the back room of your office, slowly, who's supposed to be the number one guy, supposed to be getting the cheers from the crowd, getting this big contract, getting DUIs over in Russia or wherever the hell, Czech Republic or wherever the hell he was when he got his stupid DUI.
Yeah.
That everyone just likes to push under the rug, no big deal, tanking your entire company down into nothingness.
And then he
But
gets
you get blamed for it.
And he gets his job guaranteed for the
Job
next
guaranteed
season.
before anything.
Yeah.
You gonna want to still work there?
Probably not.
That doesn't sound like a workplace I would quite enjoy.
No, I don't think so.
So, I don't blame him.
Can you blame Evander Kane?
Can you really blame Evander Kane
No,
for
you're
wanting out?
right.
Can you blame him for maybe... I want to get this clear. Do I think he approached this the best way? Do I think he should have gone on Vancouver radio and said this? No. I think of all the things Evander Kane has done, this is the one time I'll say, okay, you might have pushed it a little far here unless you actually want out.
Right.
I'm convinced at this point that he might actually want out. Before this, what has he done that's been so bad?
Nothing at all.
Neil, anything come to mind?
I heard one time he didn't pay his bill or something,
Which was
at a
actually
restaurant.
proven to not be true.
Well, then,
So-
I don't know, man. I bet you he cheated on his girlfriend once.
Oh, probably. That's the NHL.
So I mean, I'm not down with that.
That's
but...
the NHL.
No, I don't know. You made a really good point, Travis. You
Let's
swung my decision.
kind of go through the list here. On our little thread of some Arctic Ice things going back and forth, somebody just kind of popped up all the things that could have possibly happened. I just kind of want to go through the list and see how bad these things really are. A party at Republic nightclub after their first game. Saturday night. Is he not allowed to party?
No.
Did they win?
No.
Remember when the Bombers went to area every night last season after they lost every game?
Exactly. Like, whatever.
Why area?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think they live nearby.
Oh, God.
yeah,
No, they get
yeah.
Canada Inn stuff. Bomber players get they can eat at Tavern
used to be
United
able
for
to.
cheaper.
I don't know if they still do.
Oh yeah, I guess now
It's
that
not Canada
now it's not
Stadium
Canada Inns. Anyways, they used to be able to do that.
Anyways, okay, party at Republic nightclub after your first game.
Yeah.
Bad haircuts. Because he shaves things into his head.
Get him out of town.
Yeah.
Apparently that was a story at some point.
Yeah.
The money phone thing. Ooh.
Whatever. That's so dumb.
Again, ridiculous you brought out. This one is kind of iffy. That whole saying Chris Bosch looked like a fairy thing. I can see how that would really annoy some people. It's homophobic
Don't
comments.
talk about Chris Bosch like that.
The apparent legal problems in Vancouver, which to anybody who's actually read any of that story sounds a lot like a money grab.
Yeah.
And there's already gone through the courts once, and there weren't even charges laid.
Yeah.
Is that the
because
guy that
there's
said
nothing there.
you got
Some
punched?
guy
He got-
assaulted. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's claiming like emotional damages. So if you listen to this podcast and you're that guy, stop listening to this podcast and
Yeah.
just get a life. Accusations of the non-payments at restaurants. Again, that has been said multiple times to not be true. Gary Lawless even stepped out and said that wasn't true. His traffic tickets that apparently weren't paid. Whatever. I'm sure people have not paid traffic tickets before.
Yeah.
And they aren't the worst people in the world.
There are people who are way less busy than Evander Kane is who have forgotten to pay their traffic tickets.
Exactly.
I feel like he's probably a pretty busy guy.
In a town that consistently talks about grit and toughness.
Yeah.
He got criticized for being in a fight and breaking his hand, which again was pretty stupid.
Yeah, it's
but
silly, but
it's a hockey thing. Like, it happens. People usually reward fighters for doing stupid things. He went on a little bit of a Twitter tirade after missing the playoffs last summer. Fine. He wants
really?
to make the playoffs. I don't blame him. I don't even remember this, to tell you the truth,
Yeah,
but
I don't
apparently
remember
that
it.
was the story
I don't remember
last
it either.
season. The Noel scratch and the little shenanigans that we've talked about before on this podcast, I still don't think was a big deal. If you want to make a big deal out of it, go ahead. I don't think it was. I think it was a guy speaking his mind and saying, I'm healthy. I see this as a healthy scratch, just like any other player did. And actually happened later on that season with more players who made no deal out of it because it wasn't Winnipeg. The Borgie scratch due to something he was signing autographs or something, and he was late to a meeting and then was scratched because of it. That whole thing that was blown way out of proportion, even though apparently multiple players did it, and Evander Kane just happened to do it that day that he made a scene out of it. And then obviously the stuff that's happened recently with the Philly tweet and all that other stuff. I don't see anything on that list that makes him seem that damn bad.
Yeah, no, there's really nothing. And I mean, even if you were to take all those things and add them up, it doesn't even add up to a big deal, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's 22.
Yeah. Oh, and I think this is gonna harken back to something that I've mentioned on the podcast before, and we bring in our friend at Pity the Fool, when probably one of my favorite tweets I've ever seen on Twitter. It's like, I can't remember exactly what Kane's contract is number wise, but it's a couple million, whatever.
Maybe like $5 million.
Yeah, some millions of dollars, and at Pity the Fool, he tweeted this out. He said, I feel like if I was 21 years old with $5 million, that the chances of me waking up in a foreign country in a jail cell on a Sunday morning are extremely high, let alone playing as a professional hockey player, right? Like, and that's so accurate. Like, that's
Vander makes $5.25 million.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, obviously that's bringing it to an extreme, but like it's true in a sense. And considering that the worst thing he's done is take a picture with a friggin' money phone, like, I think that's nothing. And it is nothing.
Imagine getting a 6-figure paycheck.
I can't.
What?
I can't imagine.
Every 2 weeks.
I cannot.
It used to piss me off when I worked at the financial institution I used to work at, and people would just bring in like multiple hundreds of $1,000 checks. So I was just like, I might not make this much money in like 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Why do I have to deal with this?
Yeah.
This is just a rubbing it in my face moment right now.
Yeah.
The last one I'm going to read here was from the Soch, @thesoch. He responded by saying, an immature 22-year-old comes to the Peg day before training camp, leaves next day after season ends, get rid of the sourpuss. That's not necessarily true, because last year, even though he was rehabbing his injury, he showed up for development camp and helped teach the players. And
he didn't have to be there. There's no reason for him to be at development camp.
Teach people. He also spent, I believe it was this off season, helping teach kids hockey somewhere. That interview that was taken, he was actually at charity for cancer.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's a terrible person, and I guarantee he's not the only player on this Winnipeg Jet team that leaves the city in the off season.
I think most of them do.
Yeah, most of them probably do. There's only a few of them that I know have houses here. Yeah. So. Whatever.
Yeah.
He is here when he needs to be here.
There are also plenty of players who play for other teams that come to Winnipeg in the off season because this is where they're from. So, I mean, that's just reasonable.
If I had a few months off in the summer, I'd probably go home too.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, can you name another Winnipeg Jet that probably works his ass off as hard as Evander Kane does, game in and game out, that hasn't been criticized for looking like he's not trying?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. And I remember saying this during the season last season when the Jets were on that bit of a slump right before Noel got fired. And I remember watching a game. I can't remember who it was against, but we're watching it in our buddy's basement, and the end of the game came, and I was just like, that was pathetic. The only guy trying was Evander Kane.
Yeah.
The only guy on the ice putting in an effort was Evander Kane on that night. And he does that night in and night out. Like, that guy
it's the same thing every night from the
He's flying around on the ice every night.
Basically alone, because people can't keep up with him.
Exactly. And I mean, it speaks to his character and work ethic, I think, that they can be in a slump like that where everyone basically was depressed and he still goes out and works hard.
Yeah. Hitting people, doing all sorts of
exactly.
Things. Things that people should love.
Yeah.
But he speaks on a money phone, so hate him.
So he's the worst.
Then following up that whole day of just shenanigans, Gary Lawless decided to go on the radio again. And basically called Evander Kane a coward.
He did.
He did. He called him a coward.
Yeah.
Or he called him close
He
to
said his comments were cowardly, yes.
And pretty much said he doesn't have balls.
Yeah.
And straight up called him out because he didn't distinctively ask for a trade, which how many situations do you see it where a player actually goes to media and asks for a trade?
I honestly can't even think of a situation straight out. Like, I'm sure there are ones, but that none popped to my head right now. That's
because
how uncommon
9
it
times
is.
out of 10, it's this exact thing Evander Kane said, where I'm a member of this organization. This is how it is. This is how we're going to go forward. Yeah. It's just what
That's
people
a very
say. It's the most generic answer
that is
you can
probably the most cookie cutter response to somebody who's been mentioned in trade talks a lot. You hear that exact comment all the time.
Exactly.
I'm insert team here for blank amount of time. This is how we're going to go forward. I've heard that exact sentence like an uncountable amount of times.
Exactly. And it's only usually once it's made very public that the person has asked for a trade because so-and-so leaked it out that they actually admit it.
Yeah.
And it, like I said before, I think if he does want to trade, it's set up perfectly for them to get all the offers they could possibly want. Oh, let me just get a little tweet here. Anyways, so I just don't think... I think it's a very hypocritical thing for Gary Lawless to trash Kane for. Because all you consistently hear, and one of the biggest criticisms Lawless seems to have on Kane, is his whole knowing how much power he has in that franchise, blah, 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 blah. If he understood that power, he wouldn't have said those things about Claude Noel, and he fully knew what he was going to do, and blah, 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 blah. He fully knows the persuasion he has in that locker room, and he knows the situation he could have gone in, helping getting Claude Noel fired, and blah, 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 blah. Which just obviously added to the personal vendetta for Gary Lawless. My response to that is, Gary, you know exactly the power you have in the Winnipeg Jets fans in this media. Mm-hmm. You know exactly how much of an influence you have on everybody here. Why do you think people perceive to hate Evander Kane so much?
Yeah.
Because you are the voice. You're the one that everybody here sees on TV and reads in the newspapers.
Lawless and order between
exactly
in the intermissions in every game.
Consistent attacks of Evander Kane is what makes people not like him.
Yeah.
How have you not picked up on that? So how can you say, oh, blah, blah, this is me, you're influencing everything too much, and then just go and do the exact same thing right to that guy?
Yeah.
And think that no one picks up on that.
How can you be a cancer in the locker room and yet have a huge influence on the locker room? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I think it's very hypocritical for him to trash Kane consistently in the way he does,
Yeah.
knowing the influence he has on people. Especially, in my opinion, it's just personal at this point. He'll go out of his way and say this, that, and the other, but from day one, it seemed so personal. I understand their personalities conflict, but then don't write about the kid. If you can't write an article without your personal distaste and dislike towards this player coming out and oozing at the seams of every article you write, then stop writing about him.
Yeah.
Let somebody else, let Ed Tate, someone who, I don't know, I have no idea Ed Tate's opinions on Evander Kane, because you're the only guy who writes about him. Because you fuel this bullcrap fire all the time. And I've said multiple times how I've liked Lawless lately, and this just shoved it all back in the room for me. Like, what are you doing? Stop. Don't go on the radio and call a guy a coward.
Yeah, especially somebody who's still on the team. Although, in his defense, there's a lot of, and we've talked about it before, the Winnipeg media being way too nice and not saying anything because, don't want to hurt the feelings of the people who play for the hockey team of the city that I live in.
Yeah.
But, so at least he doesn't follow that.
It's frustrating. This is another perspective I want to take on this Evander Kane thing. And yes, a lot of this podcast is going to be Evander Kane based because this is obviously a huge story in the city. I want to think back for a second here and connect this to a basketball story.
Yeah.
What's happened to teams that have had issues with their young kids and how they went about treating them and seeing how these things happen? Because in my opinion, yeah, Evander Kane is probably a little immature right now. Doesn't mean he's not going to mature in a few years. Patrick Kane. Did he not beat up a taxi driver and rob somebody at one point?
The taxi driver thing I definitely heard about. I don't know about robbing, but yeah.
He did something to this taxi driver.
There was a taxi driver incident, and it's brought up all the time now in jokes and whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did the Chicago Blackhawks trade him because he's a terrible person and a cancer in the locker room?
No, they didn't trade him because he is super good at hockey.
Yeah. And they just signed him for a $10.5 million deal
for what, 8 years?
Yeah. We'll get to that in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Tyler Seguin, on the other hand, cancer in the locker room, young kid, don't like his attitude. They trade him, and now look at what goddamn Dallas has in return.
Yeah.
And what Boston is starting to take a little bit of a downswing, in my opinion, because of that. Well, not just because of that trade, but in part because of that trade.
Right.
LeBron James, man of the hour in the sports universe right now.
Yeah.
I think we will all willingly admit what he did to Cleveland was pretty damn immature. How old was he when he did that?
26, maybe?
A lot older than Evander Kane.
Yeah.
And in that letter he wrote back explaining, or that essay he wrote back explaining everything, he said, yeah, I do the same way, but I've grown up. I wouldn't have done it the same way. I would have left, but I took these last 4 years and I matured. I'm a different person. People change.
Yeah.
It happens. I'm pretty sure most of LeBron's haters hated him because of his immature, arrogant attitude.
One of my favorite things that I saw come out of this whole LeBron situation was just an excerpt, and I read some of the essay, letter, or whatever.
The letter.
Yeah, whatever
capitals.
it was he wrote. I read some of it, and I don't know if this is from that or if this is just an excerpt that he said randomly on the side, but he said, when I left Cleveland those years ago, I didn't realize how big of a part of my life Cleveland was. And, over these 4 years, 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, over these 4 years, I've realized that it's a big part of my life and I want it back.
Exactly. People grow up, they mature, they change. It's almost like this is life.
The human factor,
No,
possibly.
no way.
The human factor? Is
No
that
way,
coming?
no way.
Is that there?
Let's hashtag it.
We gotta hashtag it. We gotta get it going again.
So, I mean, I get you can be frustrated with a kid. Fine, go ahead. But let's not pretend that this isn't just a natural progress of maturity and the way things are.
Oh no.
What happened, Neil?
Oh, probably a screensaver of some sort.
Neil made our logo disappear behind us. It's
You
quite
guys can
sad.
keep talking.
Yeah, I guess we should keep recording the podcast.
Yeah, probably.
So I ask this.
Mm-hmm.
If Evander Kane is moved, he doesn't want to trade, it's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
What do the Jets want back? What do you think in a perfect world they should demand? I don't want names. I just want this is what they should want
What
back.
they should want. Well, obviously, the main issues the Jets have right now are their bottom six and goaltending. So obviously, you'd want to get those addressed. Whether you can address them both in one trade with Evander Kane on the table, who knows? It would have to be a very ideal situation, obviously, if you're going to a team and saying, hey, we want a goalie and, this one or two depth forwards. Because not every team has those kinds of things up for bargaining, right? Especially if all they're getting back is one player. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that would be the ideal situation if you could work something out. And like you said, there should be 29 teams putting together an offer for Evander Kane right now.
Yeah.
And so if you can get lucky and find one, hey, we got one goalie here that's not getting a chance to move up in our system, but he's good, and we've got these two depth forwards or one depth forward, whatever it may be. That are not getting a chance to advance in our system, then that might work.
I think just getting a goalie and a couple depth forwards is even shortballing it, in my opinion. I think Steve Dangle tweeted out a little perspective, where would we start on an Evander Kane deal if he went to Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the consensus from a lot of people was you got to start with like James Van Riemsdyk.
Okay.
That's got to be the starting point. And obviously, on the Leafs, I say, fuck no, I don't want to get rid of James
Obviously,
Van
yeah.
because he's pretty good at hockey, and that contract he has is unbelievable.
Right.
But it's got to start with a star, a current player, who maybe isn't Evander Kane's level. So I'm thinking JVR might be a little high.
Yeah, I'd
But
say so.
A Nazem Kadri, maybe?
Possibly,
already
yeah.
NHL player who has those abilities.
Yep.
So a decent player
Mm-hmm.
who has potential
This
or is currently set up in this situation.
Yeah.
Goaltender. Maybe a depth forward. If not a depth forward, then a high round pick.
second round, third round.
And a left-hand defenseman who can fill in that second pairing spot. I
Wow.
think is what you got to look at. Do I think the Jets are going to be able to get that?
No, I don't think that.
So I think Evander Kane is stuck with this team
Yeah.
until other things happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't see that deal happening from any team.
I think that's what you got to go in with.
Yeah.
You lose any trade where that's not what you get back. Any trade, you're losing that trade. Because if you start going with too many depth guys, then where are they all going to play? What's the point of your prospect development? Again, we talked about this with Arby last week.
Yeah, that's true.
If you get a bunch of depth guys, you're just filling up the spots for everyone else to play.
Yep.
So if you get draft picks, then you could end up with literally nothing for Evander Kane.
So
the typical thing that Chevy likes to get for players,
of
nothing.
course. So trade like for like, kind of. Maybe somebody who's not quite at Evander's level, and then look at goaltending or D.
Look around the league and find another
Yeah.
player of the exact same thing that's struggling because of the market he's in, and see if you can swap him. It's
Right.
happened before.
Yep.
I again don't want it to go that way. I think Evander Kane's going to be a huge piece for the future of this team, but it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about another Kane and just step away from Evander right now.
Okay.
Patrick
Yes.
and his buddy Mr. Tays
Uh-huh.
making money.
Making some pretty good money, yeah.
Some big money.
So for some reason, people think that it's too much, and I don't understand why, but
Because people are stupid, Joe.
yeah.
What are
'Cause
these
they're-
numbers, Trav?
$10.5 million over the next 8 years each.
Oh, boys.
So they are up there amongst the biggest deals that have been signed since the salary cap era.
Is that max for this new CBA?
I was trying to look this up. I'm not an expert in the CBA. I don't think technically, other than term, you can go with a max dollar amount in the NHL. Like I know in the NBA they have max contracts you can sign. I don't know how they're created or whatever. For the NHL, the only maximums I know are 8-year deals of whatever dollar amount for a player you have the rights to, or a 7-year deal for a player you don't already have the rights to. So this is a max term for these two, which obviously you're going to do if you're the Chicago Blackhawks.
Absolutely.
And that is kind of a, hey, thank you for both those Stanley Cups and those Conn Smythe trophies.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
And obviously...
Thanks for all those overtime Stanley Cup winning goals,
Yeah, thanks.
Patrick Kane.
Thanks for basically turning around our entire franchise from the shitter hole it was in for however long.
Yeah, exactly.
People instantly, as soon as they start seeing this, start whining and crying, oh, this is why we're going to have another lockout, blah, blah, blah. Signing your superstars to big deals is not why we have lockouts.
No, definitely
Signing David Bolin to $5.5 million deals is why we have lockouts.
There's a difference. Good contracts don't cause lockouts.
It's the crappy, lower depth guys who are making David Clarkson and Dave Bolin money.
Yeah.
That
It's funny how the Leafs are involved in some way in both of those situations.
It is not funny. It is just sad and annoying and shitty.
Yeah.
Those are contracts that lead to lockouts.
Yeah.
It's not the big ones. It's not the ones
Because
that teams need to sign to keep these superstars.
Because there's 10 of those contracts in like the whole league.
There's 3.
Yeah, there you go.
That have hit. I believe it's 3 or 4 that have hit that average salary.
So
in the history of the lockout.
4 contracts can't cause a lockout. It's like you say, it's those other crappy ones that are smaller in the short term because they look like a smaller dollar number and you're like, hey, that's fine. But because there's more of them, it adds up and causes damage.
These $10.5 million. This is like the first deals that are hitting $10.5 million since before the cap.
Yeah.
Think about the reason there was that first big lockout is because third line guys are making $9 million a year. Yager and all these guys signing these bigger deals, fine, whatever. They're not the problem.
They're the superstars. They deserve big deals.
They're making money that these guys, they're starting to get back to the superstar level money from before the cap, and the income for the league has quadrupled in that time. This is not the problem.
No, not at all.
The problem is the fact that Chris Thorburn is making $1.2 million for the next 3 years.
If anything, that's too little if you take into consideration inflation. But I mean, obviously the cap,
inflation in other non-cap leagues, that's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's ridiculous. The fact that stars of the close to the quality, if not worse, than what Toews and Kane are right now were making just as much as they are now 30 years ago.
Exactly.
Like that's insane.
It's stupid. We just got a tweet from our buddy Arby. And he wanted me to look at something, so that's why I was kind of stuttering earlier. He says, hi, at JetStream Pod, long-time listener. I'd love to hear your thoughts on David Moss's 1-year deal and compare it to Thor's deal. So this tells me that I'm going to be very pissed off. So I'm just going to prepare a little bit of swear money here.
Okay, perfect.
As I pull this up, because I just pulled up a few things. So
do it.
Let's take a look here.
Hit me.
David Moss, 2014-2015, making $800,000. It's good money for a 1-year deal. And we all know Chris Thorburn, 3-year deal, $1.2 million.
Right.
Not such a good deal. Last year with the Phoenix Coyotes, David Moss played 79 games, had 8 goals, 14 assists, 22 points.
Well, not bad.
Chris Thorburn, what did you do? I
He's
can't remember your stats because I don't care.
It was like sorry, David Moss is a third or fourth was he playing? Not a line normally.
I don't know David Moss that well. So
neither do I.
That's why I'm just pulling up all these numbers right now to see what's going on.
All right, sounds good.
And yes, I'm sure all the non-advanced stats people are just about to yell at me for judging off of numbers, but I don't care. Let's look at his. Oh my god.
Great start.
Let's look at his. Oh god. Here we go.
Fire fucking Kevin Shirley off.
What's the damage?
His possession numbers.
What's the damage there, Travis?
His possession numbers. His relative Corsi's plus 2.5, which is excellent. A 52% Corsi for player, 51% goal for player.
Not horrible.
It's good.
Yeah.
55% the year before.
This is Moss?
Yes.
Okay. I was gonna say that doesn't sound like Thorburn.
61.2% goal for percentage 3-4 years ago.
Does it have like average ice time and stuff on there?
It has his zone start percentages. He does get a bit of an offensive zone start push.
Okay.
Sometimes, other times not at all. God fucking damn
And then what's
Why? Thorburn had 11 points last year, and he got $1.2 million.
Wow.
And David Moss had 22 points, and he got $800,000.
Yeah, it shows the
In 1 year.
shows the
1 year.
priorities, how different teams have different priorities and value different things. Clearly,
You want to know why Evander Kane wants out? If he does,
yeah,
allegedly, this would be why Evander Kane would want out. This bullcrap.
yeah,
Thanks, Arby. You ruined my day.
yeah. Ruin my day.
Fucking Arby.
Yep.
I'm searching up the max
going on, man?
contracts, and I found it looks like that players can't make more than 20% of the team's salary cap for that season.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So next season it's 69 million. So the max someone could make is 13.8.
Okay.
So there basically has never been a max contract
No,
in the NHL.
that's nuts. Yeah.
Shea Weber next year is making 14.
Hmm.
There's an
Which
asterisk
was
beside it,
forced
which I have
upon
not.
him, which is probably that would probably be bonuses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, just looking at these contracts, like Shea Weber's 14, Crosby's 12, Lundqvist, Praise, and Suter are all 11. 10 a year
Yeah,
for
Kane and Toews?
For Kane and Taves sounds great.
Sounds like a bargain.
Crosby making how much? I thought it was
12.
8.7.
It says
Oh, his average cap
Yeah,
hit
it would
is
be-
8.7. So that's the actual dollar amount. The cap hit would be less.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But anyways, sounds like a kind of a bargain actually.
Hey, you know what's not a bargain?
Chris
Thorburn.
Yeah. That's an anti-bargain.
Goddamn highway robbery. Speaking of which, Danny Heatley is making $200,000 less next year.
Yeah,
than Chris
yeah.
Thorburn.
Somebody who I don't even care when he scored 50 goals. The fact that it happened,
50 on
even
07.
if it was like 30 years ago.
That Danny Heatley parody account is amazing.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
So follow that.
Yeah.
But no, I don't like. Chris Thorbur's making more money than Danny freaking Heatley.
Yeah, it's
So is Tanner Glass.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's pretty bad. too.
How?
Yeah.
How? I don't care how bad Danny Heatley's been. He's better than Chris Thorburn. He's better than Tanner Glass. Like, that is why lockouts happen, everybody. You want to know why lockouts happen? Chris Thorburn's contract, Tanner Glass's contract. Those are lockout contracts.
Not Danny Heatley, at Danny All-Star 15.
There you
Yeah, Germany didn't have 50 in 07, but in 81, the greatest fucking All-Star of all time was born on German soil, which was myself.
I love that account.
Best
It's so
tweet.
funny.
Best tweet ever. That's great. I didn't know
Speaking of
Danny
Danny
Heatley
Heatley-
was born in Germany. That's crazy.
Neither did I. The Anaheim Ducks are going to be really good next year. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
Yeah,
hate
they
you,
were
Anaheim.
really good this year.
Yep. Okay, so they were all right. They finished well in the standings. Okay, a couple other things we're going to cover before we are done here. The Jets traded away another prospect, of course.
Surprise, surprise.
Jordan Samuels Thomas. I'm not going to lie, I knew very, very little about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
They traded him to Buffalo for a conditional 7th round pick. He then signed in Buffalo. Buffalo was apparently very happy to get this guy. So that means the Jets will get a 7th round pick for him. Again, if you're in a draft and develop mantra, I don't know why they keep just getting rid of prospects like this, but whatever. Move on. Another day. Another problem. Another loss of Evander Kane. The AHL has made some very interesting rule changes. Have you heard about this at all, Joe?
No, I haven't heard about the
you
rule
have not.
changes.
All right, well, let's look these
Sounds
guys up here.
intriguing.
Wherefore art thou? Rule changes. They have to do with overtime, which will intrigue a lot of people. And actually, I'm quite excited to watch some of these AHL games, hoping they get into overtime, because I want to see how this works.
Yeah.
Let's scroll down here. Okay, there's a revised overtime format, which we'll see. Hey, computer, stop being stupid. There we go. Okay, well, AHL overtimes next year are going to be 7 minutes long.
Okay.
Do a dry scape of the ice, and then they're going to play the first 3-ish minutes of 4-on-4,
Okay.
I think. Yeah. First whistle after the 3-minute mark is all 4-on-4, and then they switch to 3-on-3 for the rest of the overtime period.
Ooh.
They
Hey,
also
didn't
switch
I?
sides.
All right, I'm not 100% sure on this, but we had a talk about overtime and how we would do it if it was up to us on the podcast like a while ago. And I think I could be wrong, but I think I may have suggested starting off 4-on-4 and then
think you did
halfway
mention
through
that.
changing to 3-on-3. So, You're welcome, AHL.
Maybe the AHL listens to this podcast.
Maybe they do.
Maybe good old Zinger listens to it. And
Yeah.
just forwarded it to the league.
There you
You're
go.
Hey, this guy's got a good idea.
There you go.
So yeah, that's actually gonna be really intriguing to watch.
Yeah.
The AHL is kind of seen as the NHL playing sort of thing. Like they did the hybridizing first and all that kind of stuff just to see how it works.
Try it out.
So hey, if this works, I fine, cool.
Clearly, I'm for it because I came up with it.
Exactly. Get some overtime scoring, and they will go into a shootout if nothing happens.
Right.
It'd be pretty cool to see if that.
I would love to see 3-on-3. That sounds friggin' sweet.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Another rule change you make. A little bit more of a discouraging fighting rule, which is kind of weird. There's gonna. I just want to see if I can find it here. If anyone is assessed if anyone gets 3 major penalties in a single game, they now get a game misconduct. As well as if someone gets 2 fighting majors, they are assessed a game misconduct, even if they don't have any other majors. So if you fight a lot, then you're out of the game. Fight twice, you're done.
Okay.
All right.
It's reasonable.
So there you go. The 3 major penalties. I feel like if anyone gets 3 major penalties, it's something else is going on in a game.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they're still in it to begin with.
That's true, yeah.
You
That's a
basically have
lot.
to be headhunting.
Yeah.
This one I find very interesting and making helmets even more mandatory than they usually are.
Okay.
If a player loses his helmet, he will be assessed a 2-minute penalty unless he immediately books it to the bench or immediately puts the helmet back on and straps it up.
Okay.
If you play at all with your helmet off, 2-minute penalty.
Okay.
So keep your helmets on. kids.
Interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
What about taking your helmet off for a fight?
I'm actually not sure about that rule. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it's the same in the NHL where you can't.
Okay.
What if someone else takes off your helmet?
Yeah.
for a fight?
Yeah.
I believe they turned that into a penalty after that.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
was, who two guys?
I
did
can't
that?
remember.
remember.
That
That
was
was
the funniest
Just
thing. man.
flipped each other's
That's
helmets off.
That was,
hilarious.
not gonna lie, that was kind of funny.
It was pretty funny. So yeah, that's most of the things we have to talk about. So let's do the spelling bee.
Okay, spelling bee time. All right, I saw a hilarious. Well, I thought it was hilarious photo this morning of Anze Kopitar in his hometown or.
Yeah, it was his day with the cup.
Yeah, his day with the cup in Slovenia, and he had a picture of himself eating breakfast out of the top of the Stanley Cup, and then his dog beside him eating his breakfast out of a little miniature imitation Stanley Cup. And I thought it was hilarious. So today's spelling bee is Anze Kopitar's dog, whose
What?
whose name is Gusto.
His name is what?
Gusto.
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 Well, Neil, we're on an even playing field for this one.
It's about time.
Yes.
Gusto?
Yes, Anze Kopitar's dog.
Gusto.
Gusto.
Okay, I'm going. As always, I'm just going really plain Jane
I
here.
love it.
G-O-O-S-T-L-E.
G-O-O-L-E.
Gusto.
Fantastic. Travis, what do you got
I
for
went
me?
with probably the whitest way you could do this. G-U-S-D-A-L. Gustal.
Gusto. Oh, okay, interesting.
Amateur.
Well,
So you did double U's?
No, just G-U-S-D-A-L.
G-U-S-D-A-L.
No,
D-A-L.
Gusto is actually spelled G-U-S-T-L.
Oh!
Gusto.
I was so close.
Not really.
Well, I got the first 3.
Yeah.
Gusto.
Gusto, that's Anze Kopitar.
Do you have any interesting stories about Gusto?
No, I have 0. Well,
Just
actually,
one time he ate out of a miniature Stanley
you
Cup.
know what? He has been. Oh wait, no, never mind. We've been closer to the Stanley Cup than he has, or at least close enough as close. I was gonna say he's been closer to the Stanley Cup than any of us, but Travis and I touched it. So
What kind of dog is it?
it's like one of those big fluffy ones.
No, yeah.
Oh, that's
those
really
ones.
specific.
Those ones.
I don't know what kind of
Any
dog
car
it
in the
is.
world, you can just list off a million things about it, but you can't tell me what
Just,
kind of dog this is
Google-
that you've seen a picture
Actually,
of.
you know what's surprisingly effective is Googling Anze Kopitar's dog, because I did that and his name was like the first result.
Gusto.
Gustel.
Yeah.
Gusto.
But it's got to be some sort of like poodle cross or something, because it's got that crazy fluffy hair.
No, that
but it's
ridiculous
big.
afro kind
Yeah,
of
but
thing.
it's bigger than a poodle, so it's got some sort of mix going on. Anyways, yeah, he that dog ate breakfast out of an imitation Stanley Cup, while Anze Kopitar ate breakfast out of the real Stanley Cup.
Well, that's
Just a little cereal.
just hilarious.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Brightened up my morning.
What would you do with the Stanley Cup if you
Probably not much. I would just
I want to see it float, man, for sure.
Jump
I'm
in a
throwing
pool?
it in a pool. Oh,
just throwing it alone in the pool?
yeah, just not even in the pool with it. Just
It wouldn't float, would it?
I don't know.
No, didn't we talk about this before on a
I don't think we
podcast?
talked about this.
Wow, where was I talking hockey without you guys?
That's weird.
But we definitely talking about the Stanley Cup floating, and I researched it, and obviously a bunch of other teams have tried,
Obviously.
Yeah.
and it does not float.
Oh,
All right, well.
well, I guess that solves that then.
Seriously, what would you do with the Stanley
What would I do with the Stanley Cup? I would do something ridiculous. Like, I would, like, not ridiculous in like a party way, but like ridiculous in like a why would you do that with the Stanley Cup? Like, I would take it like fishing or something, and like just have it with me and like take selfies with it while I'm doing.
Just put all your fish in the Stanley
Yeah,
Cup.
exactly. Like something stupid like that, and obviously like do drinks out of it.
Okay, so you know how like you want to smack a fish to kill it after you catch it?
Yeah,
Just
okay.
use the Stanley Cup
just use the Stanley
to
Cup.
kill the
Smoke,
fish.
smoke some fish on it before you fillet them or something.
Just find somebody you really don't like and just smack them with a dead fish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's I don't know. I
That's a
would
very
do
Joe
something.
response to that.
I'd do something like that probably.
What would you do, Trav?
I've surprisingly have never thought of this, which is weird.
It's because you're a Leaf fan.
That's true. I don't.
Nice.
Burn. Yeah. Set me
Listen,
up for
go.
that one.
I would just hang out with it.
Just hang out.
I would just
chill.
sit there, just be like, "Hey, Stanley Cup,
What's up?
you're mine."
Yep.
Actually, I'd show it off. Be like, "Hey, look, got the Stanley Cup. Do you have a Stanley Cup? Because I've got one right here.
Yeah.
How do you feel about
I
that?"
can't hear you out of this one ear because I only have one Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I need another one.
Yeah. If I turn the other way, I can hear you fine.
I don't know. I'd drink some alcohol out of it.
Obviously.
For
With
sure.
my friends with it.
I wonder how many beers fit in that. Like, that's a wide
Someone's
cup.
definitely done that. You could probably Google that and find out. In, like,
Yeah, I'm
two
sure
seconds.
that's another thing you could Google and find the exact like cubic inches of the.
How drunk could I get
Yeah.
off of filling the Stanley Cup with beer?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. See, when I was a kid,
Wait, let's do this. Let's have guesses. I found the answer.
how many beers?
That was
Yeah.
way too fast.
I know. Well, on it when I started googling, I'm like, how many beers can you fit in the
Yeah,
Stanley Cup? Was the first
of
one.
course.
So Canadian. 14.
Oh my god!
I didn't even get to guess.
Wow!
Bullshit. I feel slightly cheated. I kind of wanted to
I'm
guess.
pretty pleased.
I was gonna
14
guess-
beers.
I was gonna guess way less than that.
Wow,
but-
I could get trashed off that.
Yeah,
That's a-
14 beers. That's way bigger than I thought.
Right? Like, I'm looking at the picture that you brought up, Joe. Of,
That's a lot of cereal.
of Gustle. It's hilarious, but that bowl is massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
Is it like full to the brim of cereal?
I
or
don't
is it
know.
just,
No,
like,
you
kinda-
can't even see what he's. But Gustle's is.
Well, his is like the size of our mics. It's like 6 inches tall,
That's hilarious.
10 inches tall.
It's so
Whatever.
funny.
Personally, with the Stanley Cup, when I was a kid, there was I don't know if I've told either of you this story. There was a hockey player from Dryden, Ontario. If you don't know who that is, Google it.
Chris Pronger.
I wasn't gonna drop names, Joe.
Oh.
Yeah, whatever. It's Chris
Everybody
Pronger.
knows.
He won the Stanley Cup when he was at the Ducks one time and was kind of a dick with it. And like he'd stop for some pictures, but he was kind of a douche about the whole situation. So, if I won the Stanley Cup, I'd probably just want to be a nice guy with it and just be like, "Hey kids, look, it's the Stanley Cup," and just like for a while at least let like people just see it.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and just set it up somewhere that my friends and family can come see it. And yeah,
To be a nice guy.
I'd be a nice guy. With
Yeah,
it.
fair enough.
And then I'd be like, tonight though, you and me Stanley Cup, we're
Yeah,
getting drunk.
we're getting hammered.
We're getting hammered.
14 beers. It's happening.
14 steam whistles.
Yeah. Well, it'd be
A little bit
madness.
less of steam whistles
Yeah.
because they're tall boys, but
Yeah.
still, it's delicious beer. If you haven't had steam whistle before, I recommend trying it. No hangovers.
Get out of here.
When we were in Toronto, we did a tour of their brewery, and the guy said something about the fermentation process. They do something better, and
Something to do with like the ingredients, and I don't know.
like the way they make it,
Yeah.
it like
Prevents
something about-
hangovers.
It just like lowers your chance of getting a hangover. And he's like, from personal experience, I've drank a lot of this beer in multiple nights, and I've never had a hangover.
He was like, the example he used was like, I was completely in the bag last night, and I was here at 9 this morning setting up to come do a tour for you guys, and I'm feeling fine right now.
That's bullshit.
But
man.
the thing is, ever since I started just drinking that, I've had like at Country Fest, I drank a lot of it, no hangover.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
it's usually
what's this beer
pretty
called?
bad for them. Steam whistle.
Steam whistle.
Yeah. You can
I
only get it in tall
am
boys
the
here.
biggest bitch when it comes to hangovers.
Are we doing JetStream, our first JetStream experiment here?
I think we
Yes,
should.
that's
Definitely.
great.
All right, so stay tuned for the experiment to see if Steam Whistle beer
Well,
can prevent
so
Neil from getting a
We're
hangover.
doing a drunk podcast then. That's got to happen.
Oh yeah, we'll do like a Saturday night podcast
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
get blitzed off Steam Whistle, and if we can get up the next morning and record again,
No problem.
and be fine.
Perfect. I like it.
It works.
All right, I'm in.
And they have
Alright.
to be 14 of them.
Yeah, 14.
14 Steam
Each.
Whistles
They,
each.
they look like they're sprites.
Yeah,
It's
they
so
kind of
good.
do.
It's so smooth.
All right.
All
Just
right.
a big endorsement going out to Steam Whistler.
Yeah, no
So
doubt.
Steam Whistle, if you're looking to sponsor a podcast,
Yeah.
No doubt.
hit us up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about all we've got for this week. If you would like to fund the JetStream Get Really Drunk Off Steam Whistle and then record a podcast fund, let us know, because it'll be fun. We're probably going to take next week off unless something drastic happens, but let's be honest here. Kevin Shovelday is the GM of the Winnipeg Jets, so nothing interesting is going to happen.
Nope.
The only reason we really did something this week is because Evander Kane decided to go crazy.
Travis and I are going to be doing up Super Spike on the weekend, so if you're there...
Yeah, come say hi.
Come say hi, yeah.
If you're not there, tweet us hi.
Yep.
And why
always.
Yeah, it'll be a fun weekend. We'll be drinking a lot of steam whistles and probably a lot of other beverages. Or beverages,
yes.
So yeah, get at us. Hashtag JetStream at JetStreamPod. Let us know. We got a new fancy logo. Let us know what you think of the new logo. Neil, how long was this podcast anyways?
Oh, it's about an hour. It's not even an hour yet. We got about 5 minutes.
Wow, it's longer than I was expecting it to be, considering we only had Evander Kane to talk about.
Yeah.
Check out the website, www.jetstreampodcast.com. You can listen to us live on there. You can also check out arcticehockey.com. We'll be posting our things there. Subscribe and rate on iTunes if you would like. We would greatly appreciate it.
Leave reviews.
Yeah,
please.
leave reviews. If you're new, leave reviews.
They mean so much to everything on iTunes.
Yeah.
So
rate
get
us
and review.
We promise we won't go superstar on our original listeners. We'll still love you. Check out everything you want to at JetStream Pod. I'm on Twitter at THRUBENIUK. Joe's at JW_Clark20. Neil's at Neil Noonan. I don't know how to really close this one off at all. So,
I want to know what people think of the video, because this is going to be on YouTube.
Yeah, we're going to have video on YouTube. So let us know what you think of the new setup. The Bombers, by the way. We have a little honorary Bomber thing there. 3-0. I officially got a Drew Willie jersey the other day, so hopefully... If Drew Willie, out of nowhere, starts being terrible at football... Take that off your head immediately, Joe. I hate you so much right now. This is basically a contribution for Joe being an idiot. If Drew Willie either breaks an arm or suddenly becomes terrible at football, blame me, because I bought his jersey and I've just got a curse like that.
Yes.
So hopefully that's
see how things go on Thursday.
We'll see how it goes on Thursday. Again, tweet at us whenever you want. We love hearing from you guys. Send us an email, jetstreampodcast@gmail.com. Do anything you guys like. Let us know if we should get stickers of this awesome logo here, because we want to get something, and I think stickers are a completely reasonable thing to do, and we'd love to spread our name a little bit.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Talk to us, folks. We love hearing from you. Thank you for listening, and I guess we'll see you in a couple weeks.